Good morning. It's Saturday morning on the New Thought Media Network. Welcome to the Science, Mind, and Spirit Conversation Series. I'm Rev Barbara Jean Schreiner Trudell. I am the founder and spiritual director of the Universal Joy Center in Toronto, Canada, and my pronouns are she, they. There is a team of us, as you saw in the opening graphic, and every Saturday morning we join you here on the New Thought Media Network to share the science of mind, the principles, the practices, and more than anything else, how to apply these principles in your life today. So if you're watching live, I would love if you would put a greeting in the chat. And as we move along, today's show is about the spiritual mind treatment. It's on page 163 of the Science of Mind, Mental and Spiritual Treatment. This show that we do every Saturday morning is really about going through the Science of Mind chapter by chapter, the textbook that is, and then the last remaining months we explore the articles and resources in the Science of Mind Library and Archives, which is available 24/7, and it'll help us to go even deeper. We can read more of Ernest Holmes' writings and other resources related to Science Mind specifically. We can even download audio files of Ernest Holmes doing treatment. I know. How great is that? There's so many resources that we refer to, and you can find all of them in the archives at sciencemindarchives.com. So our topic today is mental and spiritual treatment, and you'll find that chapter starting on page 163 of the Science of Mind. I have my glasses on today because I can't read this book without them. So what is treatment? So treatment, he says in the book that, treatment is the science of inducing within mind concepts, acceptances, and realizations of peace, poise, power, plenty, health, happiness, and success, or whatever the particular need may be. Yes, treatment is a way of changing our mind so that we can create whatever it is that we are seeking. Treatment should incorporate a conscious recognition that health has always been ours. Abundance has always been ours. Happiness and peace have always been ours. They're ours now, for they are the very essence and truth of our being. All there is of evil, of whatever name or kind, is an inversion of eternal good. So when we're looking at spiritual mind treatment, we are looking at a way to speak or to think into an idea of what it is we truly desire. And I was reading in another book this week, The Sacred Continuum by Stephanie Sorensen, and she wrote, "We cannot make affirmations for 15 minutes a day and spend the rest of our time denying the things which we have affirmed and affirming the things which we have denied. and obtain the results which we seek. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So Stephanie Sorensen wrote this book, The Sacred Continuum. Yeah, hard to see with my background there. And it's, again, a little how to do spiritual mind treatment. So when we look at what it is, what she's talking about is when you do a treatment and then you've finished it, or you've asked a practitioner to do treatment for you, and the treatment is done, and then you go to, oh no, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. Right now you have denied what was said, and the hope of getting the result of more abundance is just been wiped out. So we want to make sure that we're living in, as she talks about, the sacred continuum. And Ernest Holmes talks about this often in The Science Mind. Treatment is not willing things to happen. It is to provide within ourselves an avenue through which they may happen. So a lot of us have been raised in traditional religions. I wasn't, but many people are. And when you're raised in a traditional religion, you may be going into prayer saying, please, God, help me. Treatment doesn't do that. Treatment is a scientific method that allows us to speak of that which we truly desire, not what's wrong, but what we're looking to gain. So treatment is not willing things to happen. This is on page 164. It is to provide within ourselves an avenue through which they may happen. Treatment opens up the avenues of thought, expands the consciousness, and lets reality through. It clarifies the mentality, removes the obstruction of thought, and lets in the light. It removes doubt and fear in the realization of the presence of spirit, and is necessary while we are confronted by obstacles and obstructions. When we are experiencing something in our lives, right? Something's not going quite the way we would love it to go, then we are in, we might be sitting back going, well, this situation is terrible, awful, and we begin to fret and worry about this thing. And what we want to do in treatment is remove that. You see, when you're doing treatment with somebody else, which is what practitioners do, they'll do treatment with us, help us to understand. They will ask us what we want. When I'm doing treatment for anybody, I always ask two questions. The first is, what do you want? The second is, how would you feel if you had it? When I go into treatment, I am not treating necessarily for I know I'm not treating for the condition, the problem, the situation. What I'm treating for is their desire, but more importantly, the feeling back of that if it's manifest. So the manifestation is the result of the treatment. So if I'm treating for wealth and all of a sudden I get a raise at work, the treatment has been demonstrated. There has been a demonstration. And this is what we're always looking for. For treatment to be successful, there must be a demonstration. All right. So when we're doing our treatment, what the practitioner does, or if you're treating for yourself, what you need to do is start off with that very first step of treatment. And in that first step of treatment, what we're doing is we are speaking about what it is we truly, believe about God. So we might start with, there is only this one power. I call it God or spirit, first cause, oneness, universe. But whatever name I call it, what I know is it is the only thing that exists. And when we go into that place of treatment, when we go into that place of understanding that there's only this one, when we can live in that awareness that there is only this one, then we can begin to have very successful treatments, because we are living in that greater truth and we are believing in, because see, if we believe in this divine presence, if we believe it, right, it's one thing to have an idea of it. It's one thing to know that, yeah, there might be something out there, but it's a whole other thing to go, yes, I believe it. I know it in my heart of hearts that there is this power. The minute I can reconcile the idea of this oneness with God, if God is everywhere present, all knowing, all powerful, then I must be one with it. And this is what we're doing in treatment. We're recognizing that power, and then we're recognizing it's everywhere present. And so we know it's where we are. And it's not just a part of us, it is being us. It is working through us as us. And so we want to be really clear in our language. And if you go back to the Bible, it says, in the beginning, the Word. Yes, in the beginning, the Word. The words that we think have power. The words that we think and speak are the words that are creating the life that we're living. Yes. So treatment is about stating in an affirmative way exactly the desire that we want, that we have, that is there for us. So when we start recognizing that desire, when we start acknowledging that there is this one divine presence, when we come into that great understanding of possibility, then we start to see our treatments working beautifully. So when we're doing treatment, doesn't matter if we're, here in Toronto and you're in, let's say you're in Colorado, makes no difference, because we're working in that state of mind, that subjective, subconscious state of mind where we are all one. We are connected there. So if I'm treating for you, it doesn't matter the time difference. It doesn't matter the number of miles between us or the number of kilometers. What matters is that we are awakened to a new idea. So if I ask for treatment and I believe the practitioner has the ability to do it, I will receive the benefit of that treatment. So I had an experience years ago where I was found out a friend of mine was in hospital. He'd had a major heart attack. So I went to the hospital, told him there's this thing that I do. Didn't name it because he wouldn't understand the name anyway. There's this thing that I do that might help. Would you like me to do it with you? And he was like, yes, please. So I did treatment with him. Now, he was at one hospital waiting for the angiogram machine to be repaired at another hospital so that he could go and get an angiogram. So in the meantime, a week passes. And in that time, they do stress tests, the ECG, is that what it's called? I'm not great with medical terms. So they do all these tests, and what they discover is he's had a major heart attack, and he's in really serious condition. They take him to the other hospital. So on Wednesday, so this is almost a week later, Wednesday night, they bump him up to the front of the list because the machine has been fixed and he's going to be sent to the hospital the next morning to be the first person to be tested because his condition is so serious. So they take him to the Foothills Hospital. They do the angiogram. The doctor looks at him, the cardiologist looks at him and says, "Why are you here?" And he says, "Well, I've had a major heart attack." And the doctor says to him, "You don't have the heart of a 46-year-old man. You actually have the heart of a 16-year-old boy. Your heart is perfect and healthy. I don't know why you're here." And he just paused right there. They took him back to the other hospital and he said, "I'm leaving." They didn't want him to leave. They wanted to run more tests. They thought some mistake had been made somewhere. But the truth is that his heart had healed. He had been open to the idea of having this. And from then on, he and I studied together to show him how to do meditation, how to do treatment, etc. We are a healing teaching here at CSL and at Unity. We heal through the power of our words. And so when we're dealing with anything, what we want to know is that spiritual mind treatment is a way of dealing with the first cause of all conditions. See, everything begins first in mind. And so that's what we're dealing with here. That's what the science of mind is. And what we do that's different from any other spiritual tradition is we do spiritual mind treatment. And treatment is very exact and precise. We're not wishing and wailing. We're not trying to make something happen. What we're allowing ourselves to do is really become conscious that I am one with this divine presence. I am one with God. I'm one with spirit, with the universe. I am one with it. So it is being me. It is my body, my mind, my soul. It is the all of me. And because it is all powerful, then I am powerful. And so I come into treatment with that understanding that I am one with this divine presence. And it is in that oneness that I can move forward and create a life that is beautiful and joyful. And what I do is I focus on what I truly want. I don't focus on the problem. When I do treatment, I stay in that awareness, that understanding that all is well. So if I'm treating for wealth, I might say something like, there is one divine presence, one infinite creative divine energy that permeates all life everywhere. It is omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. And as I breathe life into that, what I know is if that is the truth, then I am one with it. Therefore, I am powerful. I am able. I am capable. I am truly understanding of what's going on. And I choose in this moment prosperity. I choose in this moment wealth and understanding. I choose in this moment to move forward in life with ease, with joy and grace. I'm relieved. I'm excited. I'm delighted. I am prosperous now, always, and forever. And when I say that, and when I allow myself to be grateful for that, and then I release those ideas into the law, it is manifest, not someday, but right in that now moment. Now, it might take a day or two to show up, like with my friend in the hospital. I treated for him on a Thursday. It was the following Thursday when he had the angiogram, and they decided he was completely healthy. The cardiologists at the first hospital were absolutely dumbfounded by what happened. The energy that we create, the energy that we produce in our lives is always a reciprocal energy. Whatever we're putting out into the universe is coming back to us. And so when we're worrying and fretting and all upset about things, what's happening is we're creating that energy. And that is the energy that is drawing to us more of the same. But that's not what we want. We want to do our treatments and get results. We want to do our treatments and have success. And so that's what we're striving for. As an illustration of the importance of the understanding, he talks in here about, this is on 165. Suppose a man in New York wired a practitioner in Los Angeles, explaining to him that he'd been unable to sleep for weeks and that he wished treatment for insomnia. How would the practitioner go about doing this? The practitioner in Los Angeles knows that the man in New York fails to sleep because there's a lack of peace in his consciousness. There is a mental disturbance and the mind keeps working all night. We could probably agree with that. The practitioner begins to think peace about this man. He does not say, now, John, you are going to be peaceful. Rather, he says to himself, John is peaceful, is not going to be. The practitioner does not send out thoughts nor suggestions. They realize in their own mind the truth about this individual. The practitioner treats the practitioner. The practitioner treats the practitioner for the patient, always. Always. Now, I do treatment a little bit different than some because I really take into consideration this idea of oneness. And if we're all one, if there is only one thing going on, if there is only one in this universe, then we are all a part of that. And so when I'm doing treatment, I always do it in the first person. I speak the name of the person that I'm treating for. Let's say I'm treating for Elzia, and I'm talking about, so I'll invoke his name in the beginning. I speak this word for Elzia and what I know. And then I go into a treatment that is, I know perfect life, perfect harmony, perfect joy here, now, always, and forever. And I know that this is the truth because there is only one power. There is only one of us here. And in that oneness, I accept life is beautiful, joyous, and wondrous, now, always, and forever. And so I'm creating in that place of the I am. We know the power of those two words. And so I use them quite a lot in my treatments. I want to make sure that my mind is really, really clear before I treat for this person. Now, I had an experience early on when I was doing my practitioner training, and this is going back many, many years, but when I was doing my practitioner training, where a young man came to me and he was, hauling his oxygen tank. He was in his early 30s. And he came to me for treatment. So as soon as I saw him, I thought, oh, he wants help. That's not what he asked for. He asked for understanding, that the people in his life would come to an understanding that he's dying and that they need to just move on, let go, and that they would be okay. So when I heard what he wanted, which was in direct conflict with what I was thinking, I had to start somewhere. And where I started was in my own mind. So I treated my own mind first so I could change the direction that I thought I should go and move myself in alignment with what he had requested. He requested that the people in his life would be okay, that this is what it was, that he was in fact dying. So that for me was a little bit of a stretch because I really suspected he wanted help. We are, as practitioners, when we're doing treatment, we need to be really conscious of what we're doing and how we're doing it so that we're not creating harm. And so one of the things that I always tell my students is never treat for someone who has not requested it. Never treat for someone who hasn't requested it. And if you are going to treat for someone that, let's say, a mom phones you up and says, my son was in a car accident and he's in a coma, I need you to treat for him. Well, you would treat for him. What you would not do is treat for, his health or his well-being. You would treat for the highest and best outcome because you don't know what his journey is. You don't know his path. You don't know what's going on for him. So it is essential that we just hold with that idea that what's in the highest and best good is what happens. And that will ensure that he is getting, he's getting what he needs and he's in a good place. Now, there are two methods of treatment. And if you go to page 170 in the textbook, there's the argumentative and the realization. And argumentative can be really powerful when, you're thinking about something, but you have a lot of doubt or fear, or like, oh man, is it going to happen? And so sometimes when we're doing treatment, you've done your first and second steps, you go into the realization step of your treatment, and doubt is pushing forward in your mind. Stop right there and remind yourself that there is no place for that. That if you sit back and you're treating somebody who has cancer, and in your mind you're going, oh man, they're going to die. Well, you have to erase that doubt. So while you're treating, you might sit back and go, this disease has no power here. It has no power. The disease of itself has no power. I'm not going to deny that it exists, but I will deny the power that it has. Wayne, welcome. Glad you're here. So when we're treating and we're allowing ourselves to know a higher truth, we have to be really, really clear. And so after we've done that argument, we would go back to the realization and restate it in a positive productive way in the now moment. It has to be present tense. A realization step is I just know the truth. That's when I'm going to go into that place of I am peace, and peace is realized right here and now. So we begin to move into that understanding without actually contemplating all of the problems that existed in the past. Those are not important. So the realization method is one whereby the practitioner realizes within themselves, without the necessity of a step-by-step building up of a conclusion, the perfect state of his patient. So we see the perfect state right off the top, don't need to do anything else. The argumentative method is just what the word implies. Through the argument is never with another person. It is a process of mental reasoning in which the practitioner argues to himself about his patient. He is presenting a logical argument to universal mind or principle, and if it carries with it complete evidence in favor of his patient, the patient should be healed. So again, we're using treatment to get through a situation, and the realization step is what I was taught. I was not taught the argumentative step when I was doing classes, but I was taught the realization step and taught it in a really powerful way. The word operating through universal mind sets the law in motion on the subjective side of life, which then objectifies through the body as healing. So when we're doing treatment, we're allowing ourselves to know a higher truth. And as a practitioner or as a minister, because as a minister, we are first and foremost practitioners. And as a practitioner, our treatment work is something that we do pretty much on a continuous basis, right? We want to keep our mind in that flow. Now, that's not to say we don't have a day where we're like, oh man, what's this? But the reality is that even that we would turn around and call our practitioner, because all of us are working with practitioners. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping our mind in a clear and powerful state. A treatment is a conscious movement of thought, and the work begins and ends in the thought of the one giving the treatment. So everything begins and ends in the mind of the practitioner, or in your mind if you're treating for yourself. The practitioner must do the work within themselves. They must know the truth within themselves. And as they do, the law unfolds. A thing which is known by any part of universal mind is known by every part of it, for it is an undivided whole. So everything we're doing and the way that we're doing it gets us to that place that the client or the patient requires from us. In giving spiritual mind treatments, we find that the more completely the mind turns away from lack, the more completely the thought stops trying to figure out how the demonstration can be made. We do that, don't we? Well, how's that going to happen? How's this going to? No. How's not your job? How is the job of the universe? So thought stops trying to figure out how the demonstration can be made. The more completely it refrains from willpower. See, we don't need to force this. And strange as it may seem, the less it tries to concentrate, the more power it has. So the less you try to force it, the less you try to figure it out, the less you try to push. Surrender. Surrender into the silence. Surrender into the quiet. Surrender into that place of oneness with the divine. And like Wayne said in the chat, get thee to a practitioner. If you don't have one, get one. If you don't have a prayer partner, get a prayer partner. So in the language of metaphysics, a demonstration is made when the thing is accomplished, which makes perfect sense, right? That's on page 174. So the law that we're working with is an exact one, and it only has one answer for us. And the answer is always yes. So when I'm thinking, oh, my life sucks, the universe is saying yes to that. And then what happens is everything begins to show up in my life and in my world that matches that energy. Is that what we're looking for? Are we looking for more confusion, more frustration? You know, one of the most common phrases I hear from people is, I don't know. So we talk about the universe being all powerful, everywhere present, all knowing. And then we talk about, I am one with this presence, I am one with this power. So I'm one with this power. And then I say, I don't know. It's one of the little lies we tell ourselves. Because the truth is, we do know, we may not be aware of what we know. But there is a knowing there. There is a way for us to know. And the way to know is to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Stop telling ourselves, I don't know. He goes on to say on page 175, the kind of demonstration we believe in is the kind that can be checked by a physician, if one so desires. If we are treating for the removal of a cancer, we have not made a demonstration until the cancer is gone and the wholeness of the body is evident to anyone. This is not a process of saying peace when there is no peace. Okay, a practitioner working for one whose blood pressure is high might say, go every week or so and have your blood pressure tested. If one's blood pressure is high, a demonstration will not have been made until it is reduced to normal. So the demonstration is the proof. It's happened, it's done. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So this is what I was just kind of talking about a minute ago, that, you know, as we're moving along and we're saying what it is we want, or we're saying, you know, whatever it is we believe we deserve, we're putting ourselves in a position where we could, in fact, be creating something a little disastrous. And so we want to pay attention to the thoughts that we're thinking and to come into a place of realization where we acknowledge the perfection that we are. Ernest Holmes wrote in the textbook, there is nothing in the world more specific than a scientific treatment, but there is nothing that should be so released from outline as a scientific treatment. However, there is no secret in the business of demonstrating. The only secret is in the persistent ability to use the law and the determination to continue to use it until we prove it. If we can't prove it, we don't fully understand it. We must be able to prove it. And so when we're doing treatment, we want to have a very clear understanding of what it is we truly desire. And if we deny it, once the treatment's done, the denial is the one that's going to hold and the manifestation won't be made. It's like my dad one day said, oh, treat for me to, you know, win the lottery. So I did. As soon as I finished treating, he said, I don't want that. And I said, well, you're okay. You're not going to get it after that statement. And what he realized is if he won the lottery, people would be asking him for money. Yeah, probably me and my siblings. But the reality is that he came to an understanding that that would make him uncomfortable. And so he just changed his mind. Now, this is after about 50 years of buying lottery tickets and winning nothing. So I think, you know, he may have arrived there just by, you know, oops, here I am. And going back to the quote that I gave you earlier, we cannot make affirmations or treatments for 15 minutes a day and spend the rest of our time denying the things which we have affirmed. Ernest Holmes said this. This actually was out of Creative Mind book. And affirming the thing which we have denied and obtain the results which we seek. So if I'm seeking health, if I'm looking for health, and I turn around and I get a treatment, I ask Reverend Alzia to give me a treatment. And so he gives me a treatment for health. And immediately after the treatment's done, I go, oh man, I'm so sick. I can't believe how sick I am. Oh, I'm never going to get better. Well, anything he said has now been erased by my conscious inability to receive that treatment. So I got to want what I'm asking for, and I've got to believe that it's possible to have it. And what happens when treatment is being done, treatment is changing my mind at the subjective level, but that's where we are one. And as my mind is changed, the client's mind can be changed as well. Years ago, I treated for a friend who was dying of AIDS. And when I asked him what he wanted, he said, I want to live. I've never been afraid of dying, but I've always been afraid of living. And this disease is the best thing that's ever happened to me because it's shown me how much I'm loved. People are phoning me all the time and checking in with me and making sure I'm okay. He said, I want to live. So we did treatment. 2 weeks later, he had gained 18 pounds. 4 months later, he was back to work. And a couple months after that, he was undetectable. The virus couldn't be found in his body. And that was a huge shift because he was like maybe 90 pounds soaking wet when I saw him that day. The journey that we're on is really being about clarity about who I am, what I want, where I want to go, what's possible for me. And if I can hold, if I can believe that it's possible, then it is. If I can accept what is going on, if I'm really clear about what I desire and I put that forward, then I get a result that matches. I get something that is truly remarkable. And like Wayne says, be kind to yourself. Yeah, be kind to yourself. Being kind to yourself means believing in you, believing in the potential that you have, that you are created perfect, whole, and complete. And if you're created perfect, whole, and complete, then obviously you are loved. You are love. So this journey that we're on, although some days it can seem a little bit difficult, I invite you to spend a little time every day in the Science of Mind textbook. Read Ernest Holmes' Meditations. Allow yourself to experience this teaching in a way that maybe you haven't before. And in his meditations, he wrote, "The divine plan for me. The divine plan for me is perfect. I am held in the mind of God as a complete and perfect expression of life and truth. No power can hinder nor mar this inner image of reality, for it is God-given and God-kept. God gave and God will keep." And so it is. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Elzia, for producing today's segment. And just know that we'll be back again next week with another chapter out of the text. And, we're here every Saturday, and I invite you to make sure you come back. So, programming on the New Thought Media Network serves the well-being of each, and you can make a donation at ntmedia.org and click the donate link. The work that's being done here is really remarkable, and we all have the ability to participate, and we can participate by watching or creating something, and at the same time, sharing our good by donating to ntmedia.org. Now, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Want to make sure you see us again next week, and allow yourself to remember that life loves you, and I do too. Bye for now. See you next time.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.